Picture this for a second. You're standing in a massive airport terminal, right? But it's 3 a.m. The usual roar of thousands of travelers is just completely gone. Instead, there's just this low mechanical hum and the harsh glare of fluorescent lights. Or, okay, imagine sitting entirely alone in a sterile doctor's office waiting room, flipping through a magazine you're definitely not actually reading. It feels a bit eerie, doesn't it? Like you're kind of floating outside of reality. That strange floating sensation is something we literally all experience, yet we almost never stop to think about it. Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to explore the fascinating world of the lovely and the liminal. Okay, let's dive into this, because asking whether transitional spaces are just empty or if they're actually where transformation happens totally changes how we look at our environment. Usually when we think of liminal spaces, we instantly picture internet aesthetics, right? The creepy abandoned malls or those empty, endless hallways. But if we look at this through the lens of high-level philosophical debate, it's not just about spooky architecture. It's about a profound mystery. Are these transitional spaces just meaningless voids we rush through to get to our real lives, or are these spaces, the passages themselves, actually where human transformation happens?
Section 1. The lovely and the liminal. To really grasp this, we need to expand our definition a bit. Liminality actually encompasses spaces, moments, and even our own identities that exist in the in-between. They're not final destinations, they're passages. Now, why does simply being in a passage feel so deeply unsettling sometimes? Well, the source material points out something absolutely fascinating. Human beings just crave certainty. We want to know exactly what we are. Are we a child or an adult? Are we at home or away? Are we waiting or have we arrived? Liminal spaces disturb us because they strip away those comfortable, clear-cut labels. You're not who you were when you started, but you haven't quite become who you're going to be when you arrive.
Section 2. Psychology of the threshold. So what's actually happening in our brains when we step into the unknown? Let's look at the mechanics here, specifically through something called the doorway effect. Have you ever walked into a room and just completely forgotten why you went in there? We all have, right? Well, that's the doorway effect in action. It suggests that the simple act of crossing a physical threshold actually acts as a mental break, literally resetting our short-term memory. Leaving a physical space and crossing a boundary completely interrupts our routine. Doorways aren't just architectural features, guys. They are literal psychological reset buttons.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how everyday physical motifs map directly onto very specific and often uncomfortable psychological states. Take elevators, for instance. They represent a temporary suspension of reality. You're literally hovering between floors. Or think about fog. It creates profound ambiguity and unease because it visually hides our destination. And waiting rooms? Man, they completely strip away our control, leaving us in this weird state of powerlessness mixed with anticipation. You're not acting, you're just waiting for something important to happen. And those eerie back rooms or empty hallways, they feel unsettling because they completely remove normal social cues. When a space designed for busy human activity is suddenly totally devoid of humans, it triggers this really primal fear of endless lonely transition.
Section 3. Tensions of transitional space. If these spaces make us so uncomfortable, how should we interact with them? This brings us to a massive ethical and philosophical debate: destination versus transition. Ask yourself, where is the true value of your life actually found? Is it strictly in the arrival, the graduation, the new job, stepping off the plane? Or is the value actually found in the passage itself, the studying, the moving, the journey? Let's look at how this tension plays out in the real world. We're constantly battling between beauty and function and control versus surrender. Should a public space, like, say, a train station, just be hyper-efficient and useful? Or should it prioritize creating an emotional atmosphere? There's a really fascinating reference to the philosopher Immanuel Kant here. Kant's idea of beauty suggests that a liminal space might actually be beautiful precisely because it doesn't have an active utilitarian purpose. It doesn't need to do anything. An empty space can be breathtaking simply because it invites wonder and makes us feel something. But, and here's the catch, that requires us to surrender control, to accept a little discomfort, rather than trying to perfectly design it away.
This idea is captured perfectly in an elite debate motion stating that ambiguity is essential to beauty. It's a brilliant provocation. Does uncertainty actually enrich the human experience? Does a little mystery make art, spaces, and life more powerful? Or does ambiguity just cause confusion and fear? Our modern world seems to have pretty much made up its mind on this, which brings us to our next section. Section 4, the war on waiting.
If there is one thing modern society absolutely hates, it's being stuck in the middle. We're currently fighting a major cultural battle over the value of our time. On one side, you have the affirmative view. Waiting is meaningful. In a world utterly obsessed with speed, waiting forces us into a state of stillness. It gives us space to breathe. But on the negative side, waiting is seen entirely as wasted time. In this view, waiting just reflects poor systems, inefficiency, and unequal power dynamics. Because let's face it, it's usually the powerless, the patients, or the passengers who are forced to wait.
And of course, our ultimate weapon against waiting is technology. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second here. How many of us can sit alone in a waiting room, completely unsupported by our devices, for more than like 12 seconds without reflexively pulling out our smartphones? It's almost physically impossible now. We are terrified of being present in an empty moment.
Which leads directly to this incredibly relevant debate motion. This house believes that modern society has lost the ability to wait. We've completely engineered waiting out of our lives. We have apps, constant notifications, streaming, and infinite scrolling to instantly and digitally eliminate boredom. But the source material asks us to deeply consider the technological cost here. By completely banishing boredom, have we also destroyed our capacity for deep reflection?
Section 5, embracing the unknown. So the crucial point is this idea. This house regrets humanity's obsession with closure. We constantly demand certainty. We want the movie to have a neat ending. We want our life path mapped out perfectly. We want to arrive at our destination right now. But the argument here is that this obsession with closure might actually be doing us psychological harm. By constantly fleeing from uncertainty, we miss out on the growth that literally only happens in the gray areas.
Let's look at another motion. This house believes that life is defined more by transitions than destinations. When you really think about it, this perfectly mirrors the grandest, most profound human experiences. Adolescence, migration, falling in love, grief, illness, aging, these aren't destinations. They are massive, sprawling transitions. We actually spend most of our lives living between who we were yesterday and who we're becoming tomorrow. I want to pause here for a second, just to let this stark realization set in. Human beings do not only live in places. They live between states. And this brilliantly illustrates that we exist continuously on the threshold. We live between childhood and adulthood, between arrival and departure. We're constantly navigating the space between knowing and not knowing, between fear and wonder, between silence and meaning. We're going to leave you with this provocative thought. Liminal spaces matter because they reveal that human life is not some fixed destination at all. It's a continuous unfolding threshold. So the next time you find yourself stuck in a so-called wasted moment, a quiet hallway, a delayed train, a silent waiting room, ask yourself, if life is a continuous threshold, how will you spend your time in the waiting room? Will you pull out your phone to escape it, or will you allow yourself to be transformed by the lovely and the liminal? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this today.